I tried to beat ARK Survival Evolved in 100 days, and this is what happened. In order for me to do that, I need to beat this giant monkey, this really ugly spider, and this huge dragon. But that's not all. Once I finish this, I need to run myself into the volcano and fight this weird looking eye overseer thing. So let's begin. On day 1, I spawned in the ice biome and quickly realized I was not going to make it. Very soon after, my time came. Ow. With this very minor setback, instead of spawning in the hardest zone on the map, I decided to spawn the easiest. Day 1 was mainly spent gathering resources, learning everything I needed to learn. Then I started crafting some essentials, and I very much enjoyed murdering this dodo. On day 2 I built a house and I wanted to build a raft to have a base on the raft. So I banked some trees and then boom. Then I began destroying my house and putting it all on the raft. In this time I also built a metal pickaxe. Then I finally had everything ready, so I set sail. And now I wanted to tame a trike. However, someone else decided to surprise me. Day 2 was almost over, so I decided to go over to this green drop. But just before I reached it, this raptor started attacking me. Sorry, you have to die. Where are you?
What's up?
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I had to run, get all my stuff, and then it became day 3. No! But hey, at least I could get this to green drop. 2 bronzes finally. Are you serious? What's killing you?
Hello there.
Oh, it's a T-Rex. Please go away. Now I wanted to tame a trike and I quickly found this. And I decided that I should try and trap it. Okay, so I lied a bit. In the process, I tried to tame it without trapping it. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean to hurt you guys. I ran back to get all my stuff, and I decided to farm some metal to distract myself from that trike incident. Bear in mind, I have never tried this strategy before on any dinosaurs, and I do not know too much about it. He's trapped. I'm so happy. After that, I gave up and decided to tame a low-level trike. But first, I had a bit of a sad episode. I hate my life. So yeah, I gathered all my stuff and began taming this trike, which I was able to down pretty easily. He tamed pretty fast, so I named him Druk. I don't know why I chose Druk, but I did. I made a trike saddle, and the first thing I did was... Whoa. After that, I just farmed a few berries and logged off. But not for long, because I was straight back to this wonderful game. I spent the rest of day 4 looking for a pteranodon without a spyglass, so it was really challenging. But because none of the pteranodons were landing, I did not know what levels they were, so I just shot at a random one. And surprise, surprise, a level 8 pteranodon. As night fell on day 4, this pteranodon landed right in front of me. And it was level 60, which was good enough for me. Now, if you aren't wondering already why they are all such low level, you would definitely realize later how stupid I was when I did this playthrough. Because I set the difficulty to the highest in the settings before the game. However, I didn't know that you had to type a command, or the max override, whatever command is, for the dinos to actually spawn high level. So there was times where I really struggled to find any high level dinos, but we managed. Stay put, where's that? And to build a saddle I needed more keratin, so I made them kill a bunch of turtles and I got the saddle. And then I took flight, and oh boy, what a feeling. I used this pteranodon to fly around and look for a higher level pteranodon, And I found another level 60, and I think the only reason I tamed it is because it looked cool. Anyways, I abandoned it and got some crystal and finally got a spyglass. For the rest of day 5, I flew up to the Redwoods mountain, built another trap without looking at any guides, and almost froze to death. Day 6, I finished building my amazing trap. For those who don't play ARK and might be asking what am I trying to trap, it's an Argentavis, which is a big eagle bat. So I got this one to follow me up to my trap. But as you guessed it, it did not work. I ended up just shooting trank arrows at it, and I got it. And I mean, I actually got it. I tamed it, and I decided to name it 62, as those were the first numbers that came to my mind. Day 6 ended with me flying the RG back to the base, and I paid a quick trip to the green obelisk to check what was new in the terminal since I last played. As day 7 started, I was kind of lost. I didn't know what I had to do, where I wanted to build a base, so I kind of just flew around, doing literally nothing. But then it hit me. Let's find somewhere to build a base. So I loaded up all my donors onto the raft and got the birds to follow me, and I set sail once again. But you might be asking where? I looked at the map for a while and I thought, I want to live in the ice biome like I originally spawned. So I began the journey. Shortly after, I met with this Sarko again, and let's just say it didn't end out that well. I got revenge, it felt pretty good, but it wasn't going to get my RG back. At the end of day 7, I found this Carno that I wanted to tame for extra protection against stuff like the Sarko. He tamed successfully and I named him Horny. No reason why. I used the Carno to slaughter absolutely everything I saw. Then I found this level 96 Sarko that I really wanted. So naturally I knocked that out of it. Yes! Once it tamed, I immediately got on her back and oh my god, I felt like I was riding Godzilla. I brought both the Carno and the Sarko back to the raft and began to sail again. Day 8 started to come to an end and it was a beautiful sunset. Then it became really foggy and I decided to finally name my Sarko Liz because she's a girl and also because lizard. Get it? Lizard. Anyways, I kept sailing and we finally reached our destination. I used the Sarko to kill some mammoths so I could get some pelt armor. During the night I almost froze to death, so I had to cuddle up near all my dinos. On day 9 I found this level 104 male Sarko, so I had to tame it. And guess what I named him? I decided to name him Gek. Gecko. Anyways, throughout the night I used the 2 Sarkos to slaughter absolutely everything in sight. I tamed a random really low level RG and named it 26. Spent a while looking for a better RG, but like I said earlier, everything was so low level. But on the morning of day 10 I found this level 88 and I was happy with it, especially because it looked cool. So I knocked it out and then it tamed. I brought both the RGs back to base and can you guess what I named it? I didn't do much for the rest of day 10, I just flew around looking for more high level donors but didn't find anything. On day 11 I spent it gathering my donors and looking for a place to build a base. However, they kept getting stuck, so I gave up on that, and then that's literally what I spent the whole day on. Because of this, on day 12 I decided I need to find another base location, so I sailed around the ice biome, and you may be wondering what happened to 26 the RG. And to be honest with you, I don't know. I looked back through this footage and I couldn't find any trace of him, so I'm guessing I just abandoned him somewhere. Sorry. I kept going for a while around this ice biome, so much that the raft started glitching and it wasn't following my movement controls, but it was going really fast if I was able to control it properly. This is what it looked like. But eventually I tested my luck and I pulled a Titanic, so I had to abandon our raft, unfortunately, because I don't know how this happened, but it was on the ice bags and it wouldn't move. So I had to just take all my dinos back to shore and I built another raft and then I left. Sadly, whilst I was on that shore, this happened and I was very disappointed. Anyways, I kept going for a while and I found this cliff that I actually like the look of, so I built a very basic looking base. For the rest of day 13 I finished building my base and built 4 refining forges. Yes, I know, only 4. On day 14 I went to the closest mountain and got loads of metal. Then I flew back and just did some stuff around my base. Day 15 I flew back to the mountain and I was here because I wanted to tame an Anki and I found this level 92 very quickly. So I grabbed him and took him to the top of the mountain. Once we were at the top, I just shot a bunch of trank arrows into his face and he finally knocked out. Once he tamed, I named him the most appropriate name. As day 15 ended, I brought him back to base, but on the way there, I found this level 92 Pteranodon. So of course I decided to tame it. By taming, I mean I left it and just gave it some meat. Day 16, I burnt all the metal I just gathered. Then I grabbed Iron Metal Destroyer and I was off to the mountain again. On the way to the mountain, I found a Pteranodon which I was taming and named it the most appropriate name. I let Iron Metal Destroyer do what he does best, and then I saw this bad boy, which was actually a girl. I used my brain and I had this amazing idea where I would lure it all the way back to base and tame it there, and it was actually not that bad. It didn't take too long to do this. The RG was flying slow, but it only took a couple minutes. I almost lost the RG, however I am crazy at this game, so I shot the perfect arrow which knocked it out. The RG tamed on the same night and I decided to name it Dia because it was a girl, and also I just thought of Diamond and I was like, okay, I can't name it Diamond because that's too... yeah, anyways, I named it Dia. On day 17 I used Dia to fly over to Cunning Island and I found this level 104 female T-Rex and I had to tame it because I knew that high levels were a bit rarer, so I didn't want to miss this opportunity. And she took a load of tranks, but I managed to do it. Eventually she tamed and I decided to name her Betty. I placed her on a raft and drove home, or should I say sailed? I don't know. When we got home I built her a saddle and just admired. On day 18 I found this colourful Dodic that I just swooped up and decided to tame. Then I did another metal run. I built a fabricator because I wanted to check how much it will cost to build an industrial forge.
Oh my god.
On day 19 I went back into the ice biome to get some oil. And then, I know it's cruel, but I had to beat some penguins with a club. I flew up to the blue obelisk during the night, had a look at the boss that I wanted to kill. On day 20 I built a whole scuba set, and then I built an industrial grill, and then I built a generator. Before the end of day 20 I went on another metal run. On day 21 I built a shotgun. On day 22 I flew around the ice biome again looking for a wolf to tame because I needed one to do the caves. However, I spent the whole day and did not find a single high level one, so I had to make this trip worthwhile another way. But on day 23, on the way back to my base, I found this girl. So I swooped her up from her pack and dropped her somewhere where I could tame her. Phew. Once she tamed, yes, I did it again. I gave her the perfect name. Then on the same day I found this level 104 Uranus, which I knew I needed, so I tried to tame it. So I just flew home in complete sadness. On day 24 I built a cryo fridge and built my first cryopod, which I then used for Betty on Carnival Island, and she pooped right into my face. But I didn't mind because I used her to murder the whole island. On day 25 I flew out the direwolf to the same island and we killed our first alpha raptor. But the main reason I was here was to get chitin, and look at all of this chitin. I spent the rest of the day getting more metal. On day 26 I went back to Carnival Island, but this time it was to get my first artifact. On day 27 I flew around the island looking for a male T-Rex so I could breed him with Betty. However, my luck was not there. It was so bad that I had to give up. When I logged back in, I kept flying for a long time. Then I found this level 120 Pteranodon which I had to tame. On day 28 I leveled up my direwolf and spent the rest of the day looking for a high level male T-Rex once again, which I obviously didn't find. I spent the whole of day 29 doing the same thing. On day 30 I had to let my frustration out and I tamed a high level donkey. On the morning of day 31 I finally made progress. I gathered some metal and I went to the central cave, which went great, but then I thought my wolf could swim. Then when I came back, I proceeded to lose all the footage from day 30 to day 35. So I will summarize everything that happened very quickly. I tamed another wolf and named it Yaki. I went to the ice cave and got the artifact from there. Then I flew over to Cuddle Island and began taming a hit squad of RGs. I also found a blueprint for this beauty. I began killing everything on the island over and over and over again, hoping for a high level T-Rex to spawn. However, as you can see, they were all super low. On day 36 I killed my first Alpha Carno, tamed another RG and continued killing everything. Day 37 I went back to base. I flew back to Carno Island, tamed a saber wolf as backup for the caves, then flew back to base again. On day 38 I decided to go to one of the swamp caves, which again went pretty well until I froze to death. I flew back and this time brought my saber-tooth and the whole scuba set. Luckily when I got back, Yaki was still alive and I managed to get all my stuff. However, shortly after, this was not true anymore. But I didn't give up. I knew Yaki did it for me. I had to avenge him. I safely managed to get out of the cave and I flew back home. But Yaki will forever be lost. On day 40 I built a harpoon gun and took the hit squad for another mass massacre. However, once again, no T-Rex spawned. On day 41 I tried to tame a high level Spino, however it lost taming effectiveness, so I just killed it instead. On day 42 and 43 I gathered a stupid amount of metal. On day 44 I began exploring the ocean, but I didn't know that you get dismounted when you attack these jellyfish. And then I got stuck and eaten by a plesiosaur. I flew back with one of my pteranodons and I flew up really high and then jumped off. However, I didn't realize how deep I actually was when I died. So I flew back again, but this time I brought a scuba set. Then I saw this Alpha Mosasaur and did a 180. But then I thought maybe I could actually take it, so I rushed in and with that victory I had to go back to shore because both the Sarcos were pretty low on HP. But then I saw an Alpha Megalodon, so you know what I had to do. After this I went back to base and I spent the rest of the day taming some saber-tooths. On day 46 I went to another cave where I quickly realized that my saber-tooth was too weak. So I threw in my Sarco and had to wait ages for him to wake up. He was a lot better than the saber-tooth, but he could only take me so far. I managed to do the rest on my own and secured the artifact. I flew back during the night and I found this level 108 Brontosaurus, so I had to tame it. Still on the way back home I stopped at one of the swamp caves, killed everything and tamed this dung beetle. I secured the artifact and then went back home. On the morning of day 49 I saw this Alpha T-Rex and this RG was really strong, so I decided to take it on. When I got back home I threw out the Brontosaurus and she squished me. For the rest of the day I crafted a bunch of random stuff. Then on day 50 it was time to find a male T-Rex. I circled the Redwoods Island for the entirety of day 50 and did not find a single T-Rex high enough level. But then on the morning of day 51... I quickly knocked it out and gave it only the most premium prime meat. Once he tamed, I was just typing emotions as his name. I took him back to base and he looked so happy next to his new wife. On day 52 I took both of them over to Cuddle Island where we declared war. I spent 3 days leveling up the T-Rexes until day 55, which is when I went back home and built this. What is this, you're asking? This is where we're gonna need to incubate all the T-Rex eggs we get. But before making them breed, I had to max level them, so I did that for the next 3 days. Then I made the T-Rexes do their thing, and here was the first baby. He quickly hatched after this, and I named him Little One, because he was the first little one we'll get. I also made some crop tops, so we're able to grow vegetables, and Little One was fully grown. On day 59 to day 61, I kept breeding the Rexes and looking for a high level UT to tame. On day 62 I got this level 116 UT stuck and I downed it. But I do have to say that this was the hardest thing I ever had to tame, and so I appropriately named it Hard. On day 63 I looked for a female UT so they could be mate boosted, but I knew it would take forever to find a high level, so I just used this level 72 one. It tamed on the morning of day 64 and I went back home. I spent the rest of the day breeding more T-Rexes. On day 65 I tamed a dodo and 2 of these sausage things. The next day I found another high level donkey, which tamed fine, and then I went to tame a Megapithecus. On day 67 I went to the super hard ice cave and instantly died. Then I flew back on day 68 and then I had to fly back to base once again because I forgot to bring grapples. I died once again, but this time I rage quit. On day 69 I finally managed to make it through the caves and reach the artifact. On day 70 I got out the cave and flew back home. The next day I went to the swamp cave in the redwoods and I didn't know what was killing me. And then I got stuck on the Megapithecus and died. I flew back wearing a scuba set, however this still wasn't helping, so I had to research what was killing me. And basically the air is really toxic, so I need to build a gas mask, which was pretty annoying because I had to get sap. So I had to fly all the way back to base to fly back to the cave to put the sap things in the tree. So whilst I waited for the sap I decided to go to another cave. However this one was underwater and I hate underwater caves. I made it to a loot drop and found some really good gauntlets. Now I had to get through all of this and I nearly killed my Sarkos. Luckily they both made it out. On day 73 I decided I would just try to swim past everything and it surprisingly worked. Then there it was, the artifact, but there was also a mosasaur, which I was really scared of.
Oh no.
Then I remembered that my Sarkos are actually really strong, so I just killed it, and the artifact was mine. On day 74 I flew back to the redwoods and collected my sap. Then again, this time was actually not my fault, but for some reason OBS trolled me and was not recording the whole swamp section, but I went to the swamp cave and got the artifact finally after building the gas mask. On day 75 I tamed an oviraptor and named him Egan. The next day was spent just raising the T-Rexes. On day 77 I had triplets. I know, I was so excited.
Oh my god, triplets!
I mean, look at them. I also crafted this many cryopods. Speaking of cryopods, at this point in the playthrough I decided to turn PvE mode on because the cryostasis was gonna kill me if I didn't have it off. I spent the rest of the day looking for ocean loot for a Rex saddle blueprint. Whilst I was doing this, I was still breeding the Rexes back at home. On day 78, I obviously wasn't able to find a blueprint for a Rex saddle, but I killed this alpha Lidisquis. On day 79, I continued breeding the T-Rexes and I went to get the final artifact. This final artifact was in the most, dangerous underwater cave I've ever seen, so I had to drag everything out and kill it one by one. I managed to secure the final artifact and then I headed home. On day 80 my Rex army was almost complete. Then on day 81 I found a unicorn. I quickly went back home to get some rock carrots and I ran back to the unicorn's bum and I put it in its mouth, obviously. Anyways, I was very excited. Before the end of day 81, I healed up my Rexes and prepared for the first boss. On day 82, it was time. I gathered all the artifacts, I cryopoded the whole army, and I set off for the first boss. We're going to be fighting the gorilla first, as this is the easiest boss from what I've read, and yeah, let's see how it goes. So first things first, it's super white and I cannot see anything. And I realized later it's because of the launch options I have set. But anyways, he throws a boulder at all my Rexes and he is going to regret that. And we did it, we beat the first boss. So I headed back home, started healing up all my Rexes, preparing for the spider fight. The next day I left my Rexes to heal and flew around the mountains on the island to look for a Carco or a Giga. Obviously I was unsuccessful, so I flew back and just healed up my Rexes a bit more. And now I was ready, so I cryopoded everyone and I headed for the green obelisk. Just as I was about to activate the portal, I realized I forgot the artifact, so I just killed myself. On day 86 I flew back and I finally had the artifact, so I was all ready. I waited for the Broodmother to come to me and then... Now, all that was left was the dragon, which I was most worried about. The reason the dragon is such a big problem is because he does extra damage to carnivores, and I don't have time to make a herbivore army. I spent the next couple of days preparing for the tech cave, so I made a bunch of soups, I made a crazy amount of health potions. I had to go back to an old friend of mine and beat them up again, and then on day 88 I was ready for the dragon. So I flew to the red obelisk and activated the portal. The battle took place on day 89 and I tried to split my army into two teams so I could attack from behind and in front, and it kind of worked. However, I started losing Rexes. So I managed to defeat the dragon, however all the Rexes were nearly about to die and we did lose 4 of them. I began breeding more T-Rexes, however my days were running short as it was already day 90. I rushed to get my Rexes healed on day 90 and day 91, and then on day 92 I was ready. But before I left, I said my goodbyes to everyone. Bye everyone. It was time. I flew up to the volcano. I built a safety platform to deploy my T-Rexes on. And on day 93, everyone was ready and lined up in front of the door. But then I realized that I forgot the trophies at home, so I had to go back. But now really, this was the final time I was at my house. I got back to the volcano on day 94. And now I was really going to open the door. Here we go, the final days of this playthrough. It all comes down to this. This is it. I brought everyone in and lined them up and made sure they didn't move so they didn't get burnt by the lava. I began clearing the cave. I brought my 2 strongest Rexes and a Utianus, and they were sufficient. However, what really sucks about having to do this with T-Rexes is how bad their turn radius is, so it's so easy for them to fall in the lava and then you cannot retrieve them. I made it to the end of the cave safely and there was a cargo guarding the door, but luckily you can just shoot him and he falls into the lava. I cleared all the remaining creatures and made it to the final doorway. Now I had to bring the whole T-Rex army which can't turn through this unturnable path. I started by bringing them all until I got to this corner and they all dismantled. Luckily none of them fell down the cliff, so I was able to put them back into place. That was until this poor guy messed up. What's even sadder is that this was the final Rex I bred and he wasn't in any boss fights, so he died a peaceful death without knowing what it's like to fight. I kept going and I managed to bring all of the other Rexes safely, which is good. And now I was so close to the end. I reached the final teleporter pad on day 96 and lined everyone up. And this was it. Everything for this moment. So I activated it. On day 97 I reached the final boss fight and it began.
Yes!
So, that's the end. It took me 97 days to get here. I can say that I was not prepared for the final boss fight. If I didn't have all of those health pots, I would have died of cold. As you can see, I always died at the end, and I only realized that as I'm editing this. But I luckily didn't. So yeah, this is the end of the video. This took me forever to make, however it was the most fun I've had in a long time. So I would really appreciate if you guys liked the video. Give me a subscribe if you want to. I don't really care, I enjoyed this anyway. And yeah, thank you for watching.
Is this what happiness felt like?